John was Casey, back here at the British Open. How's your preparation been for this tournament?
Pretty good. We don't have a lot of tournaments in Australia to play, so I haven't had a lot of competitive matches, but lots of practice. No injuries, which is always a bonus.
You're now the main Australian-based player who travels. What's it like having to come out and play these tournaments and represent Australia?
Nice, I guess. Also a little bit daunting, but fortunately I've been doing this for long enough now that I kind of relatively comfortable with my position, my where I sit in the tennis world. So it's not something I try and think about too much. But it is nice to feel like I'm representing somebody. But most of the time I try and think more about managing myself rather than anything else.
Last tournament was the French Open. You had Rob Strickman first round. That's a draw of 16. This one's a draw of 24. So you do have a first round against a non-seed. However, that non-seed this year is Tim Chisholm. How are you going to approach that match against someone who's been around the circuit for such a long
time? With caution. Tim obviously is an amazing player and has been for a very long time, much longer than I've been in the game. So I'm really looking forward to playing him and having the opportunity to be on court with one of the greatest players of the game, certainly in our generation and possibly in the history of the game. We'll see how we go.
How do you prepare for a match like that?
Fortunately for me, Tim, obviously relatively well known. His strengths and weaknesses are relatively well known because he's been at the top of the game for so long. So it's just a matter of spending some time over the last month or so trying to work out what I can do to try and steer away from the things that he's the best in the world at and steer into the bits where I might potentially have a slight advantage. But yeah, it's tough preparing for a game against someone of that calibre.
As an Australian-based professional, there's not a lot of local tournaments you can play and end up playing the same people over and over. How does that impact you? Do you come out to these tournaments in Europe or in America where all of a sudden you are playing with perhaps very different styles than anybody else in Australia?
Yeah, it is tricky, and it can be tricky. Something that I've learnt over a number of years of travelling to tournaments. It's certainly something that I struggled with for a long time. Was coming or going away from Australia and playing players who I'd only seen play or only sort of even heard of and not actually been on court with. It's not something that I'm particularly good at, so it has taken me a long time to get better at and to learn how to deal with players who play different styles and hit the ball differently. But yeah, I think it's for me, that's just been a learning process. I've been travelling to tournaments for 6 or 7 years now, so it's something that's hopefully I'm getting better at.
Playing in the doubles this week with Vaughan Hamilton, with him at the French Open for the first time. What was the experience like playing with him?
Amazing. He was so good. I was very, very fortunate to be to find him needing a partner for the French and here for the British. I obviously hadn't even met him before the French, let alone been on court with him. But he was lights out there. So hopefully he does the same here, and all I'll have to do is serve and return and keep the ball over the net, and he could do the rest.
And you've got Claire, Faye and Henry Henman first round. They've already been through a qualifying match. How are you going to approach that match as a pair?
That's a good question. I haven't really thought too much about it, to be honest. Sort of worrying because we don't play until Wednesday, I think, the doubles. So I've got at least one singles, hopefully two to play before then. So haven't really worried too much about how we'll play and how we'll deal with it. But yeah, looking forward to that too. Claire and Henry are a formidable pair. Henry's obviously one of the better volleyers going around at the moment, and Claire's been playing at the top level, obviously of the women's game, but in the men's game as well for a long time now. So I think it'll be tricky. I'm really looking forward to it, though. I think it'll be a really fun game.
And finally, what's your calendar looking like for the rest of the season?
Not sure is the short answer to that. We've got the Australian Open in January, which obviously is my chance to not have to get on a 24-hour flight to play a tournament. So looking forward to that. After that, we'll see. I'm hoping to get to at least one of the tournaments in the US next year, whether that's the US Open or the US Pro. It's TBC. But yeah, I spend most of my time just trying to play in everything that I can possibly get to. So we'll see how we go. Some good results make a big difference.
Sean Casey, thank you very much.
Thanks, Ben. Great job.